Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. What I want to start with today is a wristwatch check because I always forget that. And I have on my Beauvais 1930 today, and I'll be going to New York in a couple days to the Watch Time show, and I hope to have something from that for the Sunday video. Sunday video may not make it till Monday, we'll see. Okay, what I want to talk about today is what we have been talking about. I had a streaming one on this, but it was a little different. And this is exactly what does it cost to make your own watch. And so I'm going to go through sort of a minimum cost, and I came up with, I think it would be about $105 total. But I want to start off with taking a look at these two watches. They both have what was the Unitas 6498-97 that became the ETA 6498-97. Now, on the left is the Luminor Marina by Panerai. And they've been making some version of this for a number of years. And in it, it's got a movement called the P6000. Now, the P6000 was created to replace the ETA 6497. One of the reasons they did that was because ETA was at one time said, well, we're not going to sell it to you guys anymore. Not Panerai, but anybody outside of the Swatch group. And so ETA, along with a number of other watch companies, they started making their own movement. But what they were, a lot of them were clones of ones that they'd been using for years in other watches. And there are some differences. The P6000 is not 18,000 vibrations per hour, but rather, I think it's 21,600, which is 3 hertz rather than 2.5. Interestingly, though, the ETA 6497 and 98-2 also have that up vibrations per hour. Okay, so maybe the changes aren't as much as they thought. Okay, now when we compare these two watches, they're both 44 millimeters, so they're pretty hefty, good-sized watches. And the one on the left, they sell for $5,000. It's a nice, good-looking watch. It's got a stainless steel case. It's this particular one's got a black dial, but they also have them in white dials. We're going to look a little more at some of these other things. And the one on the right is one I built, and it has what looks like a bronze case, but in fact what it is, it's a stainless steel case with a bronze plate on it. So it's not total bronze, but it is and it isn't. It looks bronze. And it has an ETA 6498 in it. It's the same, the difference between a 98 and a 97, 64, 96, 64, 97, and 98 is that the 98 has the small seconds at 6 o'clock, the 97 has them at 9 o'clock. And if you look at the P6000, there they are, bigger in life at 9 o'clock. Now, some people say, well, they made a number of modifications in it. It appears that perhaps they did, but I don't know what they are. They just said that highly modified. Going from 18,000 vibrations per hour to 21,600 sounds like a major difference, but the newer ETAs, the -2s, were the same. So, all right. Now, also too, the one I made on the right, it also has an ETA 6498, but I could have used one that's made by Seagull that is simply a clone of it. In fact, I just got one in the mail today. This is a clone of a 6498. and it has a number of modifications to it. It has for example, it has a swan's neck regulator. The plates are different, and some other kinds of things on it too. And the reason I say that is that when we say it's modified, well, Seagulls are modified as well, even though they're clones, but they're modified because Panerai charges a lot more. Panerai or anybody else who uses them charges a lot more. It doesn't mean there's a great deal of modification. Now, one of the ironies is that there was a watch that came out called the Daylight Skytech, and it had an honest-to-God ETA 6497 in it. This is from the 90s. For some reason, that thing is taken off. They now are asking, here are three right here. One of them you've got to request a price for. The one is $26,000. The other one's $32,000. And both of those with a name price have the 6497, not the P6000. So they're really expensive. Okay, now we're going to make one of those things, except it's only going to cost us $105. I think it's actually comes out to like $104.99 or something like that. All right, so let's take a look at our project and where we're going to start and what we're going to do. All right, the first thing that you're going to buy is a movement. And the one that I picked is a Seagull ST36, which is an ETA 6497 clone. This is one that I found on, I think it was on eBay. $35.26 plus $1.49 for shipping. Okay, so that's the first one, and so I'm going to keep a tally, and as we go through each one, we're going to add them up until we come to the final price and see what everything costs. All right, so the first one is we end up with $36.75. All right, the next thing we do now, since we have the movement, okay, we have to be sure that the case that we buy fits the movement. And I was looking for one that was smaller. The last one I showed you was 44 millimeters, so it was at Luminor. But I thought I could find one for 42 millimeters that would do the same thing. This is one thing you have to watch them like a hawk, because some of these are, they're for another size movement, and then you're out of luck if you buy a case that doesn't fit the movement. All right, this one I found again online. I think it was at eBay or one of those places, and it is $34.20. In fact, I ordered this because I liked it, and it's stainless steel, and you can see what it looks like. In fact, you know as much as I do what it looks like because it hasn't showed up yet. And I believe it's got 22 millimeter lug space, so I'll need to get a strap that's going to fit the lugs on that. Okay, all right. So that's the next thing. So now we're up to $70.95. All right. Next, what we need is a dial. Okay. Now here's where things can get very, very, very tricky. The only thing you have to remember about the differences between a 6497 and a 6498, or their clones, is a 6497 has the subdial at 9 o'clock. The 6498 has it at 6 o'clock. Now, if there are little posts that come out with the movement for the small seconds. They're either going to be at the bottom like they are here. I don't know if you can see this. This one came with hands on it. I guess I'm going to have to take those off. And if it comes here, if you have a 6498 clone, you're going to have the small seconds here. Otherwise, they're going to be over here, and there's going to be a little post. Well, if you get a if you get a dial without the little holes, it's not going to fit. All right, I know I had to cut one off so it would fit. All right, so what you want to do is you want to get your dial that's the right one for your movement. Now, the one I found, I wasn't crazy about it, but the thing I did like about it is that it comes with the hands. A lot of times when you buy them, they don't come with the hands, and that's good and bad. It's bad because then you got to order the hands separately. It's good because usually, that means you only have to order one thing and you'll get them both. And so I picked the easiest ones. Now here are two. One is sort of a silver color and the other one is black, the ones at the top. Now, the one on the left, the silver colored one is $24. The black one is $19.48. That includes shipping. I found them in two different places. Now, the reason I did that was that the black harness was right next to the silver one. And if you're looking around, you say, okay, oh boy, I want a black one. Those look like the kind of illumination I want. Really neat. Because you got to look, where do they put the subdial? If you have a 97, it's got to be at 9 o'clock. If the 98, it's got to be at 6 o'clock. So you have to be careful. And since, for this illustration, I'm using a 6497, we're going to need one of the two up at the top up there. Either one of those is fine because the movement's in the right, the hole for the movement's in the right place. Okay, so now our tally, that's $24. We'll save about a few bucks if we got the black one. So, but we're going to get the one with the blue hands and the dial, and those numbers are raised. It's not great, but it's okay. All right, now, one thing, there's something called a sterile dial, and that has no writing or anything on it. Those are the ones I prefer. This one has Parnas on it, which is the brand of the dial maker. For some reason, they put them on their light-colored dials, but not the black ones. All right, so that's just what they do. All right, but, again, if this is your first watch, you want to make it as easy as possible. Don't do what I did. Made it as hard as possible. Ended up destroying one of my movements doing that. Okay, so now we're up to $94. So what we have, a movement, case, dial, and hands. All right, we need one more thing, and that's it, and we're done. And that is, we need a bracelet or a strap, okay? Now, the strap that I got at this place called Panatime. And the thing I liked about Panatime is that they get things to me right away, okay? They're not expensive. I buy them a lot for beater bands, and so that if I wear them, something happens to them, I can turn around and buy another one. Now, in this particular case, I went to their clearance rack. All right, really going low. But yeah, I get a 100% leather strap for $10. Now you can buy some better ones. I put on my good strap on my FP Jorn because we're going to the watch show. I'm going to put on the dog for that. Okay, so that's it. So $104 and you're good to go. I mean, you can make a watch. Now, when you compare $104 for a watch with essentially the same movement as one with $5,000, you get some sense of why sometimes I get sort of crazy when I see that kind of markup, especially when they don't tell you about it. Now, the P6000 is a real, yes, it is truly in-house. So, but it is basically a copy of the 6497. Okay, all right. So the one of the two of the last things I want to talk about. First of all, I want to show you, if you talk about, they say, oh, we really modified it. Let me show you what a modification looks like. This is what a modification looks like. This is a Christopher Ward C8 regulator, and of course they tell you that it's got a 6498 in it. Now, in order to make it a regulator, they had to move the hour hand off of the center dial, and they had to put it up on a sub-dial. And in order to do that, they had to do some major work so that the dial movement that's here in the center is now up here. Well, if you look up, whoops, not up there, it'd be up here. And that's, so it looks like, well, it's sort of crowded up there. So how are they going to do that? Well, that's why it's a big modification. If you're going to be moving some gears around, that's a modification. If you change a few things and call it modified, all right. Salitas, some of the Salitas they're better than ETA because they made certain good modifications. Whether that's true or not, I don't want to get into that debate. That would be between some angry watchmakers. Now, when we look at this CA regulator, it's got a great price, $1,540. Now, when you compare that to $5,000 with maybe they did something to it or not, I don't know. I think they did. I don't know how much so. All right, so about the only other thing you need, we talked about this before. You need a loop. You need some tweezers. These are good watchmakers' tweezers. The basic use for the tweezers are for placing the hands. Now, another thing that is really handy, in fact, it's almost too handy, it's called Rodico putty. And Rodico putty is used for just about everything. It's used for cleaning dials or cleaning anything that has a little goop on it. I've used it for a cushion on underneath a movement. I've used it for all kinds of things. Now, one of the handiest things I found is that if I just touched one of the hands, like the small seconds, those are very small. They're very hard to pick up with the tweezers. So I just put a little of this, took a little Rodico putty and just touched it with it, and the old hand stuck to it, pulled it over to where I wanted it to go, namely on the post that'll turn it, and then took it off with the tweezers. So this stuff it's really good. The other thing that, two other things you'll need, I mentioned this before, the red screwdriver. This is a screwdriver that will loosen the screw that holds the stem in when you have to pull the crown and the stem out to put the watch in the case, and then put the movement in the case. Then you have to put it back in. So this is the screwdriver. Now, if you later on, if you get into doing some watchmaking work, taking them apart and putting them back together and so forth, this is one you'll need anyway for this particular movement. Okay, finally, you're going to need some really good, well, they're wire cutters, but these are more than that. They have to go through the neck of a stem and basically snip it off. And this is to me, it's one of the most nerve-wracking parts of it, is that you get everything done, you get the hands on, everything's, just the way you want it, put it in there, and then you got to down with the stem. Okay, now what I want to do is that on my next watch project, I want to go through all of the steps. Right now, there's a fantastic video by a guy who's a real watchmaker that I used, and some of the other guys who've made watches have used. And you can sort of find it with a search on YouTube for how to make your own watch, and it'll come up, and it does exactly pretty much what I've talked about, but it shows you how to do it step by step. What this does is simply give you an idea of what it's going to cost. Okay, well, like I said, Sunday is, I hope to have the report from the show. In fact, I hope to have some kind of live streaming. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that because I'd have to cart my computer over there, and I don't know if I want to do that in the middle of a show or not. But instead, I'll take the my phone, which is also my video camera. And so, listen, I'd like to get your feedback on this, see what you think. And to me, it's a great way to spend time while you're saving money to buy another watch instead of save a little and you see something you want and go and grab it. Okay, till I see you next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Side, the Art and Science of Watch Collection.